Hello! Here we are back again, and this is Adrian for the Unit 12 of Grade Time 4. What's the title of this unit? A First Time for Everything. And you're going to start our first class, part 1, by discussing the first thing you remember about your childhood, when you were a child, when you were about 4 or 5 years old. Do you have memories about that time? Do you remember what you did, what happened to you when you were like, even younger than that, when you were like 2 or 3? Do you think it's possible to remember? Yeah? Look at this. I remember when I was about 3, my mother looking at me in my stroller and smiling at me. Wow. So he remembered something when he was 3. What about here? I remember when I was eating an ice cream cone when a dog came and took it out of my hand. I cried. I was 2, I think. Wow. So now he's 10. Tom is 10. So what about you? Well, according to this text here, there was a research carried out by researchers in Canada. Okay, and they worked with 140 children between the ages of 4 and 13. Okay, and what did they do? First, they asked their participants to describe their earliest memory. Then they asked them roughly how old they'd been when the event occurred. Okay, so then they asked their parents to confirm that event, and if that event actually happened. Okay, and they wrote down the answers. Okay, and 2 years later, yes, before they went back to the children, they asked them again, what's your earliest memory? So there are 2 times. So first time they asked this question, and then 2 years later they asked the same question, what is your earliest memory? And the conclusion was nearly all the children who were between 4 and 7 years old in the first interview said something very different in the second interview. So when the researchers reminded them of what they'd said the first time, many of the children said, no, that never happened to me. Okay, so if they were aged from 4 to 7, their answers to the first and the second research about their memories were different. But children who were between 10 and 13 at the first interview described exactly the same memory in the second interview. And what is the conclusion? This seems to suggest, this is the conclusion, that our memories change in the early years, but that at around the age of 10, they crystallize. The things that we remember get fixed. Okay? So, this is the first topic that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about logical conclusions. So pay attention to conclusions in a text. Look at the ideas and arguments carefully. Do they lead logically to the conclusion? According to this text, about the things that we remember about our childhood, the conclusion of the article, or the conclusion from the article is, this seems to suggest that our memories change in the early years, but at around the age of 10, they crystallize. And, well, the thing is it a logical conclusion? Yes or no? Let's see. Idea 1. Children younger than 10 reported a different earliest memory in the second interview from the one they reported in the first interview. So this is the first idea, according to their research, okay? Idea 2. Children aged 10 and over reported the same earliest memory in both interviews, okay? So it is a logical conclusion, yeah? So we can say that our memories change in the early years, but that at around the age of 10, they crystallize because of the research. So it is a logical conclusion to say that. Okay? So what is a logical conclusion? So we have a series of ideas and they have to lead to a conclusion. But sometimes the conclusion is not logical, it's illogical. Okay, let's see some examples. Look at the underlined conclusions. Which aren't logical and why? So we're going to analyze, and you have to say if it's logical or illogical. Let's take a look. Do you know Bradley Cooper? That actor? So some Bradley Cooper movies are great. Some of his movies are great. He is in Limitless. Conclusion. It must be a good movie. Well, some of his movies are great. He is in Limitless. So Limitless must be a good movie. Is this a logical conclusion from what I said? Some Bradley Cooper movies are great? I don't know. Let's see. Another one. The chef of the restaurant around the corner is famous for his steak. Jane often eats there. So what's the conclusion here? Conclusion. Therefore, Jane often eats steak. Wow. Can we say that just by saying that the chef of the restaurant around the corner is famous for his steak? Jane often eats there. So, therefore, Jane often eats steak. I don't know. Let's see. Next one. Apples are very healthy fruit. I often eat apples. What's the conclusion? I have a healthy diet. Well, if apples are very healthy fruit, I often eat apples. Conclusion, I have a healthy diet. Tina has pale skin and burns very easily. She's going to Brazil for a beach vacation. What is the conclusion? She needs to protect her skin from the sun. Do you think it's a logical conclusion? Okay, I showed you the answer. So which ones, we have 4 statements here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Which ones do you think are logical conclusions? And which one are illogical? Which one aren't logical and why? Okay, let's see. Yes, number 1, 2, and 3 aren't logical. So let's see why. If I say that some Bradley Cooper movies are great, he is in Limitless. So Limitless must be a good movie. I'm saying that it's illogical because not all Bradley Cooper films are necessarily good. Some of them are good. Others could be terrible. So I cannot say that Limitless is a good movie because not all of the movies are good. Some are good. So it's not a logical conclusion. I cannot infer from this sentence here, that this is true. Okay? Next one. The chef of the restaurant around the corner is famous for his steak. Jane often eats there. Therefore, Jane often eats steak. This is illogical. Why? Because Jane doesn't necessarily order steak when she goes to the restaurant. Okay? Even though the chef is famous for his steak, it doesn't necessarily mean that when Jane goes to this restaurant, she eats steak. You cannot say that. So it's an illogical conclusion. All right. Apples are very healthy fruit. I often eat apples. I have a healthy diet. It's also illogical. Why? I might eat and drink lots of unhealthy things in addition to eating apples. Okay? So only by saying that I eat apples, I have a healthy diet. And what if I eat other things that are not healthy? So I cannot say that only by eating apples I have a healthy diet. Did you get it? Okay, so you have to pay very close attention whether some statement here or two statements can lead to a logical conclusion. Sometimes the conclusion isn't logical. Okay? Very good. So that's the message here. Thank you for watching that video, and I see you in the next video. Bye-bye.